City of Stevens Point Plan Commission meeting, recorded November 11, 2019.
At 6 o'clock, we will call the special City Plan Commission meeting to order. Could we get a roll call, please?
Weeza.
Here.
Kneebone.
Here.
Arnson.
Here.
Cooper is excused. Haynes.
Here.
Hoppy is excused. Rice.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, so we will continue. We have one item on the agenda for us to consider, and it is probably a pretty significant one to a lot of people. I know it is me. We are having these special meetings because time is very much of the essence in relationship to this particular request. As you know, the Fox on Main LLC had decided, I guess it's almost 2 weeks ago now, to raise the entire building. They determined that it wasn't in their best interest for whatever reason to keep it, and they sent a memo to us in that regard. Working with city staff and some of the principal people who have interest in preserving that historic front. We spent a great deal of time evaluating things, what could and could not be done. Met with the members of Create Board, members of the Fox on Main Board, and city staff and some engineers, and came up with a possible plan to save the front third of the building. And that is what you are here to consider tonight. The Plan Commission, by state statute, is required to review and make a recommendation on any acquisition of property or disposition of property to the municipality. That is your only purview. You are not charged with determining what we can use it for, reuse it for, whether or not the building should be raised, whether or not it can be saved. Any of the history that has gone on for 100+ years, that's not something you need to debate. Simply whether or not the city should or should not acquire this property. Okay? I'll turn it over to Director Karnowski, who's got a bit of a presentation. I'm hoping Redevelopment Authority members, since you are here and have to act next, that you will pay attention, and if you have questions, by all means, ask. Director.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the Plan Commission. So as the mayor alluded to earlier, staff has been working with the Fox on Main LLC, which is the owner of the property of the Fox Theater. Really, they had indicated to us at the end of October that they were not going to retain a contractor to demolish the building and follow through with the raise order that was issued this last July. So with that, staff really thought we have three main options here going forward. One would be that Fox on Main LLC would retain ownership of the property because they indicated to staff that they were not going to retain a contractor, that the city would still have to go and raise the entire building, issue that back onto their taxes through special assessments, and then after 3 years of non-payment, the city could take that property back through tax forfeiture. Again, that would result in the entire building being demolished. The second option that we had was we could have purchased the property for consideration of $1 and raised the entire building. From a planning standpoint, there was some serious concern about providing a hole in our downtown, especially as you drive into what I'll call the core of Main Street. It's something that we really don't want. We would rather see a continuous facade through the entire Main Street part of our downtown. Or the third option, which is what staff believes is the best option, is that the city take ownership of the property for consideration of $1, that we raise the rear 2/3 of the building, which is the theater portion, and that the front third of the building would be retained along with the facade, and we would actively seek developers to repurpose that property, utilizing the facade with preferential treatment given to those who would come and repurpose the facade in the front third of the property. I've included on here, I know there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of discussion. We're not making it up. The Fox is in very, very bad shape. And here are just some photographs that were taken, I believe, last week. Inspector Schneider and I were in there again today, and it's just, you really have to go in there multiple times to realize how bad shape the building is in. This is kind of the entryway into the theater portion here. This is next to the stage. The photo on the left-hand side is the failed truss system and the temporary support system that was put up in 2013. You can't really tell here, but that system is also starting to fail. It is rotting at the base of it, which indicates water leakage into the building. This is the basement. I would not recommend anyone go down there. This is facing the balcony from the stage area. You can't tell so much in this photo, but the center of the balcony is starting to sag. And then the failed truss, it would be on your right-hand side. This is kind of just a general view. Again, we're hoping to work with Create Portage County to transform that space into their idea center. Again, Fox on Main, Create Portage County has abandoned their ideas of putting their idea center at that location. Create Portage County still intends to do an idea center, just not at this specific location. Again, I just went over the three main things that staff had just discussed. And then just given the historical importance and the cultural importance of this building to Stevens Point and our downtown, staff felt it was in the best interest to try to save the facade and the front third as much as possible. There is a brick wall that appears to be in decent shape that separates the theater portion from the front third of the building. And that is where we would stop raising the building, and we would try to retain that front third. This is just something I found in the property file this last week, was some architectural renderings, and are fairly accurate to the existing layout of the Fox Theater. Again, this would be on the bottom, that is Main Street, and then as you go further north, that is where the stage and the theater portion would be. Again, the main concern, and if you stand on 3rd Ave and look east, you can see that the cupola is starting to cave into the south, which is a clear indication that the truss system has begun to fail. Again, because of the cultural and historical importance of the Fox Theater to downtown, staff felt as though this is the best route to go. So there's been a lot of discussion, and isn't necessarily the purview of this body itself, but I think it's important to bring up the fiscal impact of this. The existing development agreement that staff had put together, and that was previously approved by the city council, was we would transfer $250,000 from TIF number 5, which is our Division Street corridor TIF, to TIF number 6, which is our downtown TIF district, to help offset that cost. It is an eligible TIF expense. It is, property acquisition and building remediation, if you will. And so we would continue to reallocate those funds. And it should be noted that the development agreement that was with Create Portage County is null and void, as they have walked away from the building. So we do expect it to cost about $250,000 to take down the back 2/3 of the property. Just regarding future development opportunities, this is something that we should take into consideration. The first floor, or the footprint of the remaining building would be about 3,100 square feet, which is sizable, and there's a really nice, I'll call it the ballroom upstairs, which is actually in pretty decent shape for the age of the building and how it's been let go to this point. We would, again, hope to save that, which would allow about 6,300 square feet of reusable space. The back 2/3 of the building is raised. There's, give or take, about 5,500 square feet of developable property behind that. You could do 2 to 3 stories hypothetically behind it. Again, it is our central business district zoning, which indicates to us that they do not have any parking requirements. And there are a wide variety of uses. Something that we would probably want to push for if we did an RFP would be a mixed use, wherein you'd have apartments and retail on the bottom, or do a professional office building at that point. There's also opportunities to do event spaces, meeting spaces, things of that nature. So again, staff's recommendation would be to accept the proposed purchase of 1116 Main Street for consideration of $1, and I would be happy to answer any questions that commissioners may have at this point.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have a question on the property records and the quality of the building. What does the E and the PR stand for on trucks?
I'm not going to be able to help you with that one. Corey,
Quality, okay.
do you have any information in regards to that on the property record for taxes?
I'm just wondering, again, how sound particularly the outer brick building part of it is. That's
Okay.
the main selling point.
Okay, so, and I guess, so the question was related to the property records. Are you talking about the inspection report, or, okay, you're talking?
No, the
The assessment.
property record for the
Records
city of Stevens
report.
Point there.
Okay.
Where they talk about the exterior walls and the stud brick veneer, and it's rated an EPR, which is the same as the theater and back and other places, which apparently isn't so great.
Okay.
I would
and
ask the assessor if she's in here.
Yeah.
So it's under
Art
quality.
area that they'd be keeping.
So I don't know that I can give you a solid answer on this.
I guess I would just state that the assessing record was included just for some historical and appraisal information. Again, the assessor's not here tonight. It is not, the assessing record does not indicate the and structural engineers reports. This is just visual inspections that the assessor has done to provide an assessed value to the property. So as it relates to the grade, I would have to assume that the E is probably below failing, so.
Well, and I guess that's the gist of my question, is that the front that we look to save, you made some comments that it's in pretty good shape, given a bunch of things. I guess I'd like a little bit more, I guess, firm commitment that if we vote for this and raise 2/3 and keep the third, that third that we're keeping is worth keeping.
So here is, because we obviously don't have a 100% answer for that. The engineers have told us that it appears to be structurally sound. However, you haven't seen the whole wall yet. We've seen pieces of that brick wall, and it appears to be in good shape. So the plan would be to begin the demolition. If we uncover something that says, oh, wait, this is really bad as well, we would still be forced to take down that front third of the building. The alternative is we don't take possession of it and the entire building comes down to as soon as possible. This is an opportunity to save what we believe can be saved. However, once you start digging in those old buildings, we may find something that takes it off the table. We don't anticipate that. The likelihood of that happening is smaller than average. Does that help?
Yeah, fair enough.
Until we see the whole structure, we can't say, 'cause
Right.
most of it is hidden behind wall.
But certainly that front facade is in good shape, and that's what we want to maintain. And I certainly agree with the idea of keeping that uniform frontage there. And, yeah, it'd be a gap tooth smile there if you take it out. But, again, I'm wondering about the structural integrity of that other part.
Okay.
And it is what it is, and we'll deal with it when it comes up to it, essentially is the idea.
Yeah, there is a small roof leak in the second-story men's room that will have to be addressed as soon as we tear down the back 2/3 of the building. That may involve taking a Band-Aid approach and patching it. That may also involve a little bit more intense replacement of the roof of the front third of the building.
And of course, we'll have to seal off the backside once demolition occurs too, to make sure that that is weather tight.
And that's part of the 250,000, that whole package is what?
We don't have a bid yet, but that's the anticipated projection.
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Whether the city takes ownership or not, is it ultimately the city's kind of financial responsibility to see that it is demolished?
It seems that way,
appropriately?
yes. Fox on Main LLC has a couple $100 in their account. They have said that they don't have the means to do it, which means it would fall on the city to do it anyway. And as the director said, the process there is to bill it back then to the property and put an encumbrance on the property.
Sure.
That's in the form of property taxes. So if after 3 years, that money isn't recuperated through payment of the property taxes, it becomes a forfeiture. And then we would have the ability to retain it then.
Okay.
However, 3 years have now passed
Sure.
or more.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I do not.
Okay, comments from the audience? Hearing none. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I would move approval of the purchase of 1116 Main Street as presented by staff.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Arnson. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? With no opposition, that's unanimous consent, and we are adjourned at
6:14.
6:14.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.